is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Karl Schoening.
Welcome into the starting lineup. I'm Karl Schoening, starting at your host and the voice coming through your speakers. It's a two-man starting lineup this morning as LG is doing his thing as usual, making sure we sound good and look good, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Ticket 760. We're happy you're in here. We're going to talk Lakers and Rockets, rapid fire some sports, maybe a bit obscure around the world, and of course talk the rest of the NBA playoffs. But first, we got to talk Spurs. We're in San Antonio, and LG, we are
Go Spurs, go!
Yeah, go Spurs, go. We are enjoying a break that is undefined, undetermined, and we will know tonight if it's much longer of an undetermined break.
I'm kind of having withdrawals. I got 2, 3 days, 4 days without Spurs. What's going on here?
You know, I meant to look it up. Obviously, we had the play-in tournament week, which was a nice little reset for the Spurs as the regular season ended, the play-in tournament happened, and then the start of the first round when the Spurs hosted the Blazers in Game 1. But we became so accustomed that at the end of the year there, probably the last month and a half, you know, April until the end of the season and the month of March, didn't have a Spurs game with 3 days off until, like, I think All-Star break or somewhere around there. It was every other day for the most part between Spurs and Spurs and the NBA games in the regular season, and then just moving on over to the postseason.
Well, the good thing is
a 3 day break in the first round series.
Good thing is they get some rest, get the game plan going, get some practices in. They practiced today. I wanted to go to the practice, but I didn't make it.
No, for sure. And I don't go to those practices mainly because I listen to the post-game press conference stuff.
Yeah.
I
was so tired from working late last night at the other night at the Spurs game that I didn't make it to the practice yesterday. So
yeah, and
earlier today. Yesterday, sorry. Got my days confused here.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's been a weird week starting this talk show here in San Antonio.
It's those late games, man. I got out of the arena at like 12:30 a.m.
Yeah, the 8:30 start last night did not do my sleep schedule any favors. But, looking at what's coming up with the Spurs when it comes to their next series against the either Minnesota Timberwolves or the Denver Nuggets. That game will get started at 8:30 on ESPN this evening. It'll follow the Knicks and the Lakers on NBC/Peacock as the Celtics and 76ers. We'll get into those games a little bit, but really, we've talked about this a little bit, and nothing's really changed. Aaron Gordon is out with a calf strain, or at least he's questionable with a calf strain that would have him out in the regular season, as I understand it. Julian Strawther is out. He's going to be one of the bigger restricted free agents for the Nuggets, so they're missing him as a piece. And Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray just seem like they're at the end of a long season where they gained a lot of bumps and bruises. They're not going to be on the injury report, but they are not looking like the typical Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic that we're used to. So that's an interesting side of things on that game tonight, but no excuses. This is do or die time for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think that they're going to take a Game 7 in Denver because they're going to be without Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo, who are both probably out, definitely out for the rest of this series, possibly out for the second round series. DiVincenzo's done until next year with that torn Achilles. So tonight is the last chance for the Timberwolves to punch their ticket into the second round, in my eyes. I would be absolutely floored if somehow this went 7 games and the Timberwolves snuck out a game in Denver. Last chance to take it in Minneapolis. And then that's where it comes into the question of, if Minnesota wins, is the NBA going to try and push a Sunday matchup where they immediately turn around and send the Timberwolves to San Antonio on a Sunday or a Saturday, or do we wait until Monday? LG, we've talked about this behind the scenes a little bit. The biggest ratings nights in just general cable television are Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night. So that's why you see the NFL trying to dominate those big 3 nights.
Well, there's a big problem if they try to schedule game 1 against Minnesota here in San Antonio on Saturday night. You know what that problem is? Peso Pluma is scheduled to do a concert at the Frost Bank Center on Saturday.
No, that's actually something very good to know. They are not going to be that's actually going to immediately disqualify the Spurs from hosting on Saturday night. Thank you for noting that, because now I can reach out to SAFC and point that out to them. Hey, if y'all want to book me to do play-by-play on against I haven't even done any prep work.
My bad, not Peso Pluma, Romeo Santos.
Romeo Santos.
Yes, Romeo Santos, my bad.
No, thank you for pointing that out. I did not know. I am not hip on anything happening in the music world. It's an aspiration of mine, but this is a sports talk show, and as much as I would like to maybe turn it into a slightly general topics show, we have to be careful not to lose the audience through my own various interests. Don't even get me started on cameras.
That's a big artist, too. That's probably going to be a sold-out show. It's the Mejor Tarde Que Nunca tour.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what you just said.
I don't either.
No? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
It's a better late or nothing tour. I think that's what that translates to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nunca is never, though, isn't it?
I think so. Better late than never. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, better late than never.
Okay. Now, Paquitos Espanol.
See, you know more than me right there.
I know a little bit of Spanish. I did date a Mexican woman for 4 years, so I probably could remember a little bit more than I think that I know.
Well, I took 4 semesters of Spanish in college, and I don't know much. So.
School language in the United States is not good. I digress, but that's actually a very good point that you bring up, because they're definitely not going to start Friday night, which would be tomorrow night if the Timberwolves win. So the earliest it seems like round 2 could get going for the Spurs is Sunday. And should this be a series that goes 7, the Nuggets will host the Timberwolves on Sunday. That is a time to be determined, a network to be determined. Timberwolves, without a doubt, want to wrap it up tonight in Game 6. They don't want to see, and nor do they have the firepower to beat the Nuggets in Game 7 in Denver, just how banged up they are, as I've mentioned with Anthony Edwards. And when we talk about injuries like that, it makes it a little bit harder to project based off of the regular season how things would go. But the Spurs did play the Timberwolves 3 times in this past regular season, and the T-Wolves took 2 out of 3, one of the few teams that actually has a winning record against the Spurs in the regular season. First game was November 30th. It was 125-112. Minnesota came away with the win in that one in Minnesota. And then the second game was in good old 2026 on January 11th. That was a 104-103 victory for Minnesota. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the one time all season where the Spurs had a 20-point lead and the opponents came back to win. I think the Spurs, as of Game 5 against the Blazers, are something along the lines of 31-1 when they have a 20-point lead in the game. And I am 90% sure that January 11th game against the Timberwolves, where the Spurs just couldn't hit anything in the fourth quarter, the Timberwolves came storming back. That's the one time they blew a 20-point lead all season. But then in good old San Antonio, just a few days later on the 17th of January, the Spurs edged out a 126-123 victory against Minnesota. So it has been a tough series between both of these opponents for the Spurs. Neither one of these opponents were easy for San Antonio. The Denver Nuggets, on the other side, were 3-1 against the Spurs. I kind of want to just toss out that game 82 that didn't matter. The Nuggets won that one 128-118 on the last game of the regular season. And the epic in Denver, the third game that the Spurs played the Nuggets on April 4th, that went into overtime. Only the second overtime game the Spurs played all season. One of the only 2 overtime games the Spurs played all season as well. They didn't play an overtime again the rest of the year to this point. 136-134, the Nuggets came away with that victory. And then 136-131, the Nuggets won on March 12th. That was the second time they met. And you have to go all the way back to the November 28th matchup when the Spurs won their only game of the series, 139-136. And with the exception of that final game, 82, fourth game of the series, the first three games, the Spurs actually trailed a whole lot in the November matchup, and then the Spurs led most of the game in games 2 and 3, where they both lost. So the funny thing about the series against Denver was it seems like the key to winning a game in that series was to trail the majority of the game and then make a late push and sort of, pull the rug from the team that was leading the majority of the time. But the Spurs almost can throw out both of those season series. Maybe not the Nuggets, but definitely the Timberwolves, who are going to be playing with just such a banged up roster, as well as the Nuggets banged up, that, the thought process, LG, has been that the Spurs and the Thunder are a foregone conclusion at the Western Conference Finals, and pretty sure that is the accurate case. We'll talk about it a little bit when we come back on the other side, but we're talking about the other side of the bracket. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to play the winner of the Lakers or the Rockets. And last night, the Rockets were able to force a Game 6 back in Houston. Big win for the Rockets, but I might think that it's a blessing in disguise for the Lakers. I'll tell you why I think that on the other side here on Ticket 760. This is the starting lineup.
He didn't make the team, but he's in our starting lineup. Back to Karl Schoening.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760 rolls on. I'm Karl Schoening, starting at the host, starting as the man doing it all behind the scenes, LG. And LG, everybody can interact with the show in a various amount of ways. We live stream on YouTube. We're on the air on terrestrial radio, Ticket 760 AM. We're on the iHeart app from the 6 o'clock to the 8 o'clock hour. You can get our podcasts everywhere. What else am I missing?
Yeah, podcast everywhere. I just got us up on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and iHeart. You can also help support the show by heading over to buymeacoffee.com/the starting lineup. If you feel like leaving us a little tip there, we will use that money to improve this broadcast and maybe buy Karl some new headphones or something.
I got to be honest with you. I need that money for coffee. Buy Me a Coffee needs to actually go towards my caffeine addiction.
6 to 8 a.m. is pretty early in the morning. So
this show is for sale, by the way. If you want to advertise with us and be our official caffeine supplier in some way, I move on from coffee at around 7 a.m., maybe 8 a.m. To energy drinks, but I don't think I've had the opportunity to let caffeine die out of my bloodstream at any point in the last decade or so.
Okay, so I've quit coffee, but you could also buy me a coffee. I'll probably get like a matcha or a tea or some kind of tea or something. So the money will get spent well, and it will get me caffeinated. Just, matcha has almost as much caffeine as a coffee does.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, and I love matcha. That's a good point. We are available, especially we'll make a deal for a local coffee shop that we can stop by before the show starts.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
right?
that would be a great way to get me in my appropriate mindset. However, I will say, and I don't mean to make anybody feel uncomfortable here, we have to strategically get the coffee at the beginning of the show, like well before the show starts, I should say, because
That's true.
I
Maybe we get some cold brew or something.
I just have to say that it gets my pipes going.
All right.
I very much need to say, excuse me, after one sip. I need to go relieve myself because that's how I wake up in the morning. Coffee jumpstarts my brain and kickstarts my colon.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
is this TMI for the airwaves?
No,
I think a lot of people can relate to this.
No,
this
it's
is
fine.
just me.
It's health issues. We're talking health, and
what's a diuretic?
We're getting older in our age here, so we got issues there. And good thing that radio has commercials, so you can go handle that.
That's fair. Yeah. We'd have to pick the longer commercial break, and I don't know if I necessarily have that. Let's make this a smooth transition and talk about somebody who is aging like fine wine. 41-year-old LeBron James last night in the 99-93 loss to the Houston Rockets in Game 5.
Can't believe he's younger than me. Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
December 30th, 1984.
I'm 42. I'm 1983.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Well, LeBron James, the ageless wonder, 39 minutes last night, 25 points, 9 of 20 from the field. He was 0-6 from 3. Maybe you should stop shooting some of those threes, but he needs to. 7 assists, 2 steals. Puts on a show, but not enough. Austin Reeves returns to the lineup. He also has a poor shooting night. Gets to the free throw line 13 times, 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Austin Reeves finishes with 22 points in 34 minutes as he returns to the Lakers lineup. But the Rockets, without Kevin Durant, who is 37, so obviously he's younger than you as well, LG. We don't need to keep playing that game. The Rockets get a big stretch in the fourth quarter from Reed Shepherd. He had 4 straight points to put that game away. Everybody in the starting lineup for Houston, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Alperen Şengün, and Amin Thompson, along with Reed Shepherd, end up in double figures. Jabari Smith, somebody who was the 3rd overall pick a few drafts ago in the same draft where Paolo Banchero was taken number 1 overall. Jabari Smith finishes with 22 points in 42 minutes, 4 of 9 shooting from 3. Overall, a great game from him, the kind of game you expect when you draft a player 3rd overall to deliver in the playoffs. I'm a fan of Jabari Smith. I'm happy that he had that kind of game. And this series shifts back to Houston. Kevin Durant is still up in the air. He had a bone bruise, and then he tweaked his ankle in the game that he came back in Game 2. So if KD can come back and play Game 6, that sets up the Houston Rockets to do something no other NBA team has ever done and come back from down 3-0 in a series. Let's not put the cart too far ahead of the horse. It's currently still the Lakers 3 to the Rockets 2. But Game 6 in Houston, maybe the Rockets can have a little bit of magic to work with, and then they force a Game 7 for the Lakers, and LeBron with Austin Reeves in the lineup might be able to close it out at Crypto.com Arena. Yet it seems like for the latest reporting on Luka Doncic from Shams Charania is that Luka will not be coming back this series, and he has not actually played much, if any, of 5-on-5 scrimmages or full contact workouts. So this is what I kind of teased with coming into this segment here out of the last segment, is that it might be a blessing in disguise that the Houston Rockets won this game. And if it goes 7, granted, the Lakers will be a bit more tired from a 7-game series, and the Oklahoma City Thunder will be rested from sweeping the Phoenix Suns. But if the Lakers want any chance of defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going to have to do it with Luka Doncic in the lineup.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple.
I mean, he's the one who can carry them to the glory land. So why? And if he's healthy, bring him back.
And that's the other thing. It's a grade 2 hamstring strain, and it's typically a month that you're out. It's sort of going to be maybe a month. I didn't actually mark down the date, and as I say, game 1 of the second round series, if the Lakers do advance against the Thunder, would be sort of up in the air sometime for next week. They might have another game that they have to wait until Luka comes back, or maybe not even any of those first 2 games in Oklahoma City. But if Doncic is able to come back in this series, and I'm the Lakers, I sort of want this Rockets series to go 7 games, just because if Luka needs that extra few days, that instead of closing out the game tonight in Los Angeles and then the series against the Thunder starts this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, the next game for this series is going to be Friday night in Houston.
Yep.
And that means that game 7 is going to be Sunday in Los Angeles. So instead of having to play game 1 against the Thunder this weekend, they could possibly, I'm not saying they would intentionally lose game 6. I feel like the Lakers would probably rather win game 6.
No, you try to win, but if you happen to lose, it only helps the chances that Luka comes back for 7.
A bit of a blessing in disguise there. That's what I'm sort of getting at here. But on a whole, that Rockets-Lakers series is an oddly disappointing series because you wanted to see LeBron and KD the whole time. Obviously, no Luka is no fun. Austin Reeves only played this last game. He didn't play in the first 4 games. And you really wanted sort of an epic series between these. Can we call them I-10 rivals? They're on I-10.
Sure, why not?
Los Angeles and Houston. It seems like a fun Western Conference matchup when you look at everything on paper, but no KD the majority of this series, no Luka the majority of this series. It was a 3-0 start for the Lakers. Good for old man LeBron James as he continues to improve his legacy by showing that he can still carry a team. He was the main focal point of the Rockets defense at age 41, but the Rockets come away with that victory, and they have a chance to extend this to a 7th game if they can pick up the win on Friday night. So that series shifts back to Houston, something to keep an eye on for anybody that's really interested in the Western Conference. But the Spurs seems like they should just really be preparing for Oklahoma City, because even if Luka Doncic can come back, I can't imagine he'll be able to shift the game to shape his will like he really does. Luka probably won't be Luka. You're talking about he's out of shape. He's not in NBA shape for sure. That's not necessarily something that's ever stopped Luka, but it doesn't seem wise to expect him to be able to play 35 plus minutes against Oklahoma City. And the Thunder just quite frankly are going to be so much better than the Lakers, especially well rested. I give the Lakers maybe 1 game if Luka plays, a sweep if the Thunder are able to just start that series this weekend and Luka only plays the games 3 and 4. Like I said, maybe they win 1, but no Luka, that's a sweep. And that's just how it is. Thunder are really good. The Spurs are going to have to prepare for that. Take a look around the rest of the action in the NBA playoffs. They do have games in the Eastern Conference. I want to touch on those. And I also, of course, want to talk about some of these obscure stories I teased at the open of the show. There's a couple interesting ones that, things you don't even think about that I want to touch on. When we come back on the starting lineup, we talk NBA.
No B team here. This is the starting lineup with Karl Schoening.
That is right. It is the starting lineup. We are a San Antonio-based sports talk show. I am your host, Karl Schoening. Joining me, as usual, is LG, making sure we look and sound good, whether you're joining us on YouTube, Ticket 760, the iHeart app, all the above. You can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at OnAirKarl. That is Karl with a K, so it is On Air, Karl. Hey, you can get on the show, interact with us many ways. You can leave a comment on the YouTube stream. He is at DJLG210.
That's correct. And the show also has a Twitter page at TSL760 if you want to follow us there. And we're also on all the other social medias, TikTok, Instagram at Starting Lineup Live. Check us out.
Have we hit a saturation point of social media? Like, I think there's several channels that we will eventually get on TikTok. TikTok's very own interesting.
We are on TikTok.
Okay.
The starting lineup on TikTok.
The starting lineup on TikTok. And we're not on Blue Sky, right?
No, we are on Threads.
Oh, Threads,
and
okay.
we are on Facebook, Starting Lineup Live on both of those.
Okay, Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on all the meta apps,
Okay.
if you will.
Makes sense.
We're not on WhatsApp. Maybe we should make a WhatsApp number.
Interesting. Yeah, give us a call. That'd be an interesting way to get things going. Rappers in Houston used to give out their numbers to get voicemail, to get motivation and content. So maybe we pick that trend back up.
Well, I know that on the iHeart app, if you're listening there, there's a little microphone button you can press at the top to leave a voicemail.
It's called a talkback, and I need to learn how to check those. I know how to check those. I just need to remember and bookmark it and find a way to play those over the air. We certainly would enjoy to hear from you any which way that you would like to get involved in the show. And, we kind of like to be cutting edge, but we also kind of want to let anything that is cutting edge prove that it's worthwhile as well. So if there's a new social media that pops up, let us know about it. Maybe we'll join that one as well. Eastern Conference has some action happening. Last night was one of the most fun duels of the playoffs so far. The Pistons down 3-1, stave off elimination in Detroit, 116-109 over the Orlando Magic. The Magic really wanted to be the 8 seed that knocked off the 1 seed, but the Pistons lived to die another day trying to come back from down 3-1. Cade Cunningham was phenomenal in this ball game. I suggest you guys watch the highlights. He was an MVP candidate for a reason. In 44 minutes, he drops 45 points on 13 of 23 shooting, 5 of 8 from behind the three-point line, a perfect 14 of 14 from the free throw line, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and a steal for Cade Cunningham. And Tobias Harris showed up in that hole that we kind of talked about, how they don't have a second scorer. He has been consistent trying to become that second scorer. 31 minutes, he drops 23 points. Jalen Duren continues to be a little underwhelming, just 12 points and 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, but he does provide Jalen Duren stuff, as I believe the 5 offensive rebounds did come in big, especially when you talk about a 7-point game. I really like what Jalen Duren brings to the table. But talking about that duel, so 45 points from Cade Cunningham. Paolo Banchero finished with 45 points in 41 minutes. He put up 31 shots, 17 of 31, 6 of 11 from behind the three-point line. Unlike Cade, he had a terrible free throw shooting night. He goes 5 of 12. LG, what's the math on that? Is that 7 points he leaves at the free throw line?
Yeah, something like that. Sure.
And the Pistons win by 7.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, that's got to hurt if you're Paolo Banchero. As a team, get this: the Magic shoot 16 of 30 from the free throw line. They miss 14 free throws. If they make half of the free throws that they miss, that game's in overtime. So that has to be, it feels like a missed opportunity for the Orlando Magic. They got a superstar quality game from Paolo Banchero. Nobody else really showed out. They got a few good games from a few other guys, but it all comes down to Cade Cunningham and the Pistons are able to will their way to a Game 6.
We'll see.
It will be. There will be a game 6. That's going to be Friday night. It'll be the first slate of games from the Kia Center in Orlando. But
only 6 times in history has the 8th seed beat the number 1 seed. The most recent being in 2023 when the Miami Heat beat the Bucks in a 4-1 series.
Yeah, and I would also have to look and see to the converse of that point. Very rarely has a team trailed 1-3 and come back and win it in 7 games.
The odds are not in their favor, that's for sure.
No, the Pistons have an uphill climb. They basically have to win 3 games in a row to a team that got down. They got down to 3-1. So I'm very curious to see how that one plays out. That'll be a Friday, May 1st. Wow, it's already May, LG.
I was hoping that there was 31 days in April, but I looked at the calendar and there's only 30. So May 1st is tomorrow.
Darn April Fools should have
pay
its
your
own
rent.
little...
Bills are due.
Yeah, that's good. Ooh, thank you for reminding me. Right. So as the calendar flips to May, the Pistons are trying to stave off elimination one more time in Orlando. And also last night in Cleveland, the Cavaliers take a 3-2 series lead over the Toronto Raptors. I want to give Mark Kessicher and PJ Carlissimo a shout out. They have been the ESPN radio crew for ESPN broadcasts, and they got a chance to do TV last night. I thought they were great. Love Kesty. PJ Carlissimo, obviously a former Spurs assistant coach and somebody who left the Spurs to coach the Seattle Supersonics. He was their last coach, and then they moved to Oklahoma City, and PJ retired right when they got Kevin Durant and the entire crew.
He's made quite a career out of broadcasting, though.
He has. PJ is one of those guys that he has plenty of lore around him. He was the guy that Latrell Sprewell choked, allegedly.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And it's not allegedly.
No, I'm pretty sure Latrell admitted to that too. Yeah, I think he said something along the lines of like, "I didn't squeeze that hard, PJ." Yeah, no, that I don't want to get too far into that, but PJ, he's a hard-nosed guy, and I'm pretty sure he uses an F-bomb to communicate every other word. So, funny thing.
What coach doesn't, honestly?
No, that's very true. Although I think that culture's sort of getting away from the world of sports, but they still do drop their plenty of FCC violations that we cannot say. But yeah, last night the Cavaliers come up with the win and take the 3-2 series lead, probably in a must-win game because this game was in Cleveland. So if Toronto did find a way to win, then they would have a chance to close them out in Game 6 north of the border in Canada. The big kind of storyline here is Brandon Ingram leaves with a heel injury. He only plays 11 minutes and has 1 point, but it was still a very hard-fought game from the Raptors as it was pretty close down the stretch, but Toronto only scores 17 points in the fourth quarter, and the Cavaliers come away with the win. And I want to talk a little bit more about the Cavaliers a little bit later because they are sort of my dark horse out of the Eastern Conference. I think they can win the conference. They get 2 big games from Evan Mobley and James Harden. Donovan Mitchell dropped 19 points. And as a team, they shoot 50% from 3, 18 of 36. And that's a winning recipe. If you can shoot 50%, it definitely overshadows a really good 3-point shooting night from the Raptors, who went 15 of 38 for 39%. But the real thing that I think is that the Cavaliers should have won this series in 5. If they win it in 6, maybe I can give them a little bit of leeway. But the Cavaliers, they're too talented of a roster to be struggling with the Toronto Raptors. I do want to touch on the Cavaliers a little bit later. But when we come back on the starting lineup, some obscure headlines to touch on around the world of sports. Some things that you might not have thought about in a little while, but I am glad that they got these things handled, and we will tell you what they are on the other side of this break. Starting lineup, rapid fire in the NBA, in the world of sports headlines coming up when we come back on Ticket 760 and YouTube.
Your home for Spurs talk. This is the starting lineup with Karl Schoening.
It is your home for Spurs talk on the starting lineup. We are on Ticket 760 in San Antonio, so we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't talk Spurs. I'm your host, Karl Schoening. LG is the other voice you will hear. And LG, I don't want to just talk NBA on this show. I'm an NBA basketball junkie. You're aware of that. You've probably figured it out if you've listened to the first three segments.
Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite sport.
Yeah. Basketball, it's really just a lot of fun. If I have basketball on at a party, I'm about to dissociate from all of my friends and family, and I'm just going to watch a random, I don't know, Wizards versus Blazers game that's happening in the corner.
You're going to be watching some B-League basketball out of Japan or something like that?
Yeah. I do the Austin Spurs, so I do enjoy me some G League basketball as well. It's a fun time. However, over the course of a 2-hour show, I can't talk NBA nonstop as much as I want to, because I want to get into some interesting things that come up in the headlines. And the headlines sometimes are just speculation or talk, and we turn a quote into a story. And sometimes it's some things that we have to expand upon with our own imagination. And sometimes it's just worth sort of, I think, mentioning, right? So one of the things that I think is very interesting is, this one came down today. The World Boxing has allowed Russians and Belarusian fighters to fight as neutral. So boxers from Russia and Belarus will be allowed to compete as neutral athletes by the new governing body recently put in charge of Olympic boxing competitions.
Oh, sounds like a loophole.
It is, because those are really good boxers, right? But they're not going to award the medals to Russia or Belarus because the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, the International Olympic Committee has decided that they weren't going to allow Russians or Belarusian fighters to compete for their country. However, to not penalize these athletes who are not involved in the war, to that extent, that they're fighting the war, they are going to allow them to compete as neutral so they can still prove that they are the best on that stage. I like it because there are things that the American government does that I don't disagree. So if all of a sudden the world play-by-play or talk show host committee decides that I can't compete because I'm an American, then I don't get to show off my skills behind the microphone because of something that the government did. I am stretching here, but you see what I'm getting at, right?
What national anthem are they going to walk out to in the opening ceremony? Do they get to pick whatever they want, like a fight song, like a walkout song?
That'd be fun. Maybe they're fans of dubstep. We get some sad romance songs in there. We get a chance to really see the personalities of these Russian and Belarusian fighters.
And what about on the winning platform? They usually wrap themselves in their flag of the country. Did they get like a neutral flag? Like, is it a white flag? That means surrender, doesn't it?
See, now I'm invested to hear all the answers to these questions you pose.
There's a lot of variables there.
I think you bring up some interesting things that I would not have thought about. But as much as I don't want to get into politics. Overall, I really am happy for these athletes who they don't get to choose where they're born or what country they would fight for. And I think to a certain extent, they don't want to go through the process of saying there's a way for me to naturalize myself as a citizen of another country so I can fight on their Olympic team. It seems like a very, like you said, loophole, but appropriate way for these high-level fighters, because Russia boxing is the number one sport, if I'm not mistaken. It is up there.
We had Dolph Lundgren in Rocky. He whooped up on Sylvester. So
I want to say, like, world heavyweight champions have mostly come out of Russia in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe part of it's Rocky's fault. but a lot of it is because Russia, when they were in the Soviet Union, were basically making these guys full-time boxers from the age that they showed any promise of being boxers. And that is how, I guess, communism works for sports. The other one I want to touch on here as we continue our kind of rapid fire is we talked about Brendan Sorsby a little bit. A little bit more has come out about that one. Brendan Sorsby transferred from Cincinnati to Texas Tech. He was the number one transfer portal quarterback, and the details are still a little vague, but this man basically said this 22-year-old kid, one of the better players in college football, Texas Tech was really excited to have him, was caught in some way, and the NCAA is investigating how he placed bets across sports. And apparently he's checked himself into some sort of rehab for this gambling issue. But turns out, LG, he was making thousands of dollars, I should say. Thousands of dollars for sure on top of that. But this is how... I'm not old by any means. I wouldn't call myself old, but this is how I feel disconnected, because this is a young 20-year-old, and I understand gambling is very relevant among young men, mostly in college, recently out of college, with all of these platforms that have emerged. But he was placing bets on whether a pitch was going to be a ball or a strike in the MLB. That's just wild that that's even available. But just micro bets. So he has thousands of micro bets that went down. And the general speculation is he's going to be able to enter the NFL supplemental draft, sort of like how Terrell Pryor did when he was at Ohio State and got caught with improper benefits of having tattoos given to him for free for being the Ohio State quarterback. So in this particular case, we're talking about a guy who's probably going to get a pretty big example made of him from the NCAA. And I get that it might be a bit taboo to pick him up, but he's admitting that he has a problem. He's trying to fix the problem. He's going to probably just have to forego his time at Texas Tech and go into the NCAA. And I imagine the NFL is going to do what they did with Terrell Pryor, what they're going to be doing here with Brendan Sorsby, where if the NCAA says, I think with Pryor it was a 5-game suspension, the NFL will also suspend him for that time. But this is a big, powerful, strong-armed, dual-threat quarterback in Sorsby that I kind of get the feeling in this supplemental draft someone's going to draft him. So supplemental drafts are a little weird. They don't happen every single year, and they happen in July. So this will be a story I keep an eye on, but just something to, I guess, evolve, keep an eye on as that story evolves. And one last thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm very happy to share this one, and it's a bit more relevant than the last two. The NFL distributes crew assignments to referees. According to ESPN sources, the NFL distributed crew assignments to referees this week amid indications of continued progress towards a deal in the new collective bargaining agreement with the NFL Referees Associations. The assignments did not include any of the replacement officials the league has onboarded and vetted in preparation of a potential lockout with the referees. The league's officiating department has planned to start training for those replacements still, though, this upcoming Friday. But I do think that the CBA between the refs and the NFL is going to be sorted out. I think it was 2011 when we had the replacement refs, and they were just awful. I think they gave a 5th down and a 4th timeout to teams, and they weren't able to keep up with the NFL action. The NFL needs to take care of their referees. Hopefully it happens. It seems like it is starting to progress in that way. Another story I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And thanks to all your questions, LG, about what's going on with the world boxing, allowing Belarusian Russians to come in. We're going to have to really follow up on that and see if they get to play their own music, have some neutral flags put on them if they win any medals. That'll be a fun one to keep up with. And of course, Brendan Sorsby in July. We'll have all those topics and more covered here on the starting lineup as we always scan for some of the best stories that don't quite make it on the mainstream news for one reason or another. But we got to talk Spurs once again. Second round matchup. Could be the Thunder, could be the Nuggets, could be the T-Wolves. It'll find out soon enough here. We'll talk about it on the starting lineup.
This is the starting lineup. Here's your host, Karl Schoening.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760, YouTube. Maybe you're listening on a various podcast platform. I'm your host, Karl Schoening, starting as the voice coming through your speakers. DJLG 210 is how you can reach at DJLG 210, him on social media. Tell him if we're not sounding good, but I'm going to guess we sound good, LG. How do you think?
Yeah, I'm running the board, so we sound good.
No, I trust LG with my audio technician life, and I have done so on several occasions across many productions that I have done in my world of broadcasting. But, you know, this is a fun venture here, hour 2, Thursday show. LG, we've almost made it to Friday on this show.
Almost 1 week in there. It's been a roller coaster of a ride.
Yeah, it's been a week. It has been a week. The Spurs advance to the second round as they knock off the Blazers. And that was the big story all week. And I obviously am happy that they knocked them off. But now we have to look forward to their second round matchup, which could be between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. And I'm not concerned. I got to be flat out honest here. Both teams gave the Spurs trouble in the regular season. I think the Spurs have figured out how to win both of those opponents. They're going to have maybe a full week to rest if this goes 7 between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Both teams banged up, so it almost doesn't matter. No Anthony Edwards is... I hate to see that, but obviously it would be the preference for the Spurs if the Timberwolves can close out the Denver Nuggets tonight. That is an 8:30 start from Minneapolis. The Spurs' next opponent could be determined. And thanks to something you pointed out in the first hour, the Spurs likely are not going to start that first-round series until Sunday at the earliest, depending on what happens with the first-round series between the Timberwolves. And they're not going to start that next series against the Nuggets of the Timberwolves until at least Sunday because
I think it'll be Monday.
Who's playing? Who's playing at the 18th?
Romeo Santos is playing at the Frost Bank Center on Saturday. It's a scheduled concert, and he's super popular, so it's probably sold out. I don't know if you can just up and move them to like the Alamo Dome or something on the last minute notice, but
no, the NBA has to work with scheduled events. That's just part of how life in the NBA works. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Are you working that gig?
No, I'm not.
No,
I will not be at the Romeo Santos concert. No.
No, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I know you occasionally work some gigs for Frostbank
I
Center.
do sometimes. I haven't been called for a concert yet. I'm hoping to one day, but not this one.
That'd be nice, and obviously more money for you, and
Yeah.
make that money doing
And
what you do.
SAFC is actually playing on Saturday, so I'm hoping that I'll be working the SAFC game over there at Toyota Field.
That would be preferred. It's funny, you and I both work SAFC, and we're fingers crossed hoping that we can work this upcoming Saturday at Toyota Field. I do want to do a preview on that game. However, I have not done any prep work on it because I have not been asked. But SAFC is undefeated at Toyota Field, so we hope that you come out and support. I'll probably still end up being out there now that I know that the Spurs aren't going to be playing on Saturday no matter what. But hopefully you and I are working and not there as fans.
Well, maybe we can work there as starting lineup media.
We could. Oh, very easily. Yeah. Morgan, great. She'll give us a credential, and we can go in there and have our fun. So maybe that is an idea, and the media availability is pretty wide open. I
would imagine so.
I was thinking about going to training tomorrow, but I digress. We do want to touch on the Spurs, not a team within Spurs Sports and Entertainment, but definitely shout out to SAFC. They will get a segment on tomorrow's show. I might be able to get Katie Goodman to really teach us some ball in soccer on that part of things. But the thing about last night, or excuse me, a couple nights ago when the Spurs were trying to, close out the Portland Trailblazers, it seemed like it was easy for them. By game 5 at that point, the Spurs had figured out the Portland Trailblazers. They didn't really change up much of what they were doing. They kept the same lineup. Donovan Clingan started at center. They started Toumani Camara to guard Wemby. They had Clingan shade off of Steph Castle. And I'm thinking in my head, is this something that the Nuggets or the Timberwolves are going to replicate in some way? And
well, it didn't work, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process. Part of why it didn't work is just because overall, the Blazers are not a good offensive team. The Timberwolves
28th best in three-point shooting this season.
Yeah, and it's so funny that the Spurs basically said, Steph Castle, we dare you to become a three-point shooter. He ends up stepping up, and I think he knocked down 43% of his three-point shots in that series against the Blazers. So that failed, and that's why I don't think you replicate that. But at the same time, the Blazers went 5 out a good chunk of the time. Even Donovan Clingan was, as a 7-footer, just roaming around the three-point line trying to tell Wemby, you're going to have to guard me. And Wemby said, you're going to have to make three-pointers, big guy. I'm going to stay in the paint and patrol the paint. And the Spurs did a really good job of, by that 5th game, they had changed up their defensive rotations to where Wemby gets to stay in the paint, and maybe he crashes out to a wing that he needed to guard a man or a corner.
And to be fair, he doesn't have to step out of the paint too far to guard the perimeter. So
there's something that has gone around NBA Twitter known as the Cornet contest, where Luke Cornet, when he was on the Celtics, would try and quote unquote block a three. He would jump like he was blocking a three
8
from
feet
inside
away.
the paint. Yeah. and that's something Wemby's really good at.
He's adopted the Cornet contest. He does it all the time now, but I think it's a little different when Wemby. He's got that wingspan, and that blocks your vision.
I think it does work. Statistically, somebody tracked it, and it seemed to work. Luke Cornet was asked about it by Dan Weiss earlier in the season, and Luke said, are we going to do the math on, was that a good shooter that I allowed to shoot? Because he's probably open for a reason to a certain extent. So there's some statistical things to skew. However, the Cornet contest, when tracked by Luke Cornet doing it, seemed to be a statistically good defensive move. Breaking down the Timberwolves or the Nuggets, I don't think that they try to replicate that, put a smaller defender on Wemby and double team him constantly if he tries to do something in the paint against that smaller defender strategy. It does open some doors for the very short homework assignment that either of these teams are going to have. by going up against the Spurs in the second round where their series ends in 6 or 7. I'm very curious. That's obviously going to be a big thing about how the Spurs are going to be defended with Wemby on the court. Because once Luke Kornet came on the court, Donovan Clingan ended up guarding Luke Kornet. You're back to the big lineup, and Tumani Kamara shifted over to maybe it was De'Aaron Fox, and they evened out the lineup to a bit more traditional defending when Wemby wasn't on the court. So every series, we might have to see how a team defends Wemby. But I thought the job that Thiago Splitter did was a very creative, good idea, and it gave the Spurs a little bit of a taste of what it's like to have to deal with a defensive strategy that maybe slightly changes throughout the course of a series, but there's only so much you can do against Victor Wembanyama.
And Thiago knows the Spurs plays. He even called out. He said, hey, they're going to run a screen for Wemby. He's going to go for the dunk. Guard him like this. And they ran the play, and Wemby got the dunk.
That's the beauty of Victor Wembanyama. He's that good.
I mean, even when you know the play, you know what he's going to do, you can't stop him. You try your best to be physical with him. You try to move him out of his spots, but he's going to find a way.
Exactly. And that's the funny thing about Wemby is he can beat you almost any way. If you get him to settle for 3-point shots, and next thing you know, Wemby made 5 of 11 threes, that's almost more effective than if he had 2 feet in the paint. But the Spurs, I needed to actually look this up. They were on track to set an NBA record for made 3-pointers from the corner. And corner 3-pointers are considered the best shot in the NBA because statistically they have the best chance of going in. It's a bit of a shorter shot, and a lot of players, as they're coming up, are told they need to space the floor to the corner. So instead of defending the corner 3, teams are defending the paint against Victor Wembanyama. And that's almost to the point of what Wemby was saying in his MVP case, is that offensive impact isn't just scoring. There's a case where the Spurs are getting and generating these corner 3s at a higher rate because teams have to defend Victor Wembanyama in the paint. And you're going to see that help come from those corners. And if the Spurs can knock down their corner 3s and Wemby's having a decent enough game, they're pretty much unbeatable. So whether it's the Denver Nuggets, whether it's the Minnesota Timberwolves, we might find out tonight if the T-Wolves can close it out in Game 6 against the Denver Nuggets. I get a feeling that series is going to go 7. I get the feeling the Spurs are going to see the Denver Nuggets in the second round. It'll be a banged up Nuggets team, and the Spurs will be well rested, maybe off of about a week of not having to play NBA basketball. They'll get plenty of game film in to come up with their own strategies, whether it be against Rudy Gobert, who could become a bit more of a focal point of the offense. It's maybe Nikola Jokic, who has not had his 3-point shot going, so there could be a dare you to shoot the 3 against Nikola Jokic that the Spurs might be able to implement and take a page out of the Minnesota Timberwolves book. And then, of course, trying to figure out how to slow down Jamal Murray, who was a Spurs killer this season. Hopefully the Spurs figure out how they're going to defeat either the Timberwolves or the Nuggets after tonight's Game 6. Maybe it goes 7. We'll have to see. We'll obviously keep you updated on all of that and talk Spurs again tomorrow here on The Starting Lineup. We'll step aside. Keep it tuned in here to The Starting Lineup on Ticket 760.
your day with the starting lineup.
We hope you've started your day with the starting lineup off on a good foot. It is a Thursday edition of the show. I'm Karl Schoening. LG is on the other side making things happen, making us sound good. LG, I'm not the best at plugging these things. I need to start writing them down. Can you plug some stuff for the listeners to know how they can support the show?
Yes, you can support the show by subscribing to this thing on YouTube at Starting Lineup Live. We are aiming for a goal of 500. That's our first goal on YouTube. And if you would like to help support the show monetarily, you can tip this thing at buymeacoffee.com/thestartinglineup. That money will go right back into making this show a better thing for your ears and your eyes.
And probably for my energy levels, if I take it literally and buy a coffee with that, and I probably will, or at least I'll make my own coffee at home and you'll contribute to that.
Yeah, or we could get the Nespresso machine up and running here again, you know?
Oh.
Those pods aren't cheap.
No, they aren't. They aren't. Do you know how to make coffee art? You any good at that stuff that's Instagrammable?
Oh, no, that's espresso. So that would be like latte art. Yeah, I don't know how to do that stuff.
No.
I have a Nespresso machine, which is not the same as an espresso machine.
Definitely need coffee in my life. It is undeniable part of my life. You know what also is an undeniable part of our lives, LG, as sports talk people? The whole LeBron James versus Michael Jordan bit. And I want to touch on a few NBA stories that aren't necessarily related to the playoffs. This is just something where you almost you manufacture your own story. So the playoffs, the best thing about it is there's a whole bunch of media. They ask a whole bunch outside the questions. And LeBron was asked about, I guess, the debate might never be settled, but there's just some wide-ranging series of interviews that ESPN conducted that acknowledge the influence that LeBron had based off of Jordan. And he got to talk about it a little bit. And I think LeBron's opening up a little bit more in his old age. And he's had a little bit more time to think about these conversations and build his own resume. And he said, I hope I made him proud at least wearing the number 23. And, that's an interesting thing to say because obviously he grew up probably idolizing MJ. He says, I've never compared myself to MJ because of our games are totally different. I've been a point forward my whole life. I've always looked to pass. MJ looked for his shot. He did look for his shot is what he said. There are a lot of things that I would say my game is a lot different and a lot better than his, but blank, he was blanking great. We're both great. We're both great basketball players. And that's where this GOAT debate gets exhausting to the point where the way was that you?
No.
Oh, that was my chair that I'm in.
No, that was my pet goat.
Goat. Oh, it was a goat sound. Okay, yeah. The GOAT debate gets exhausting to the point where I want to say, are you in the category that you have a GOAT argument? There's no question LeBron has a GOAT argument. There's no question MJ has a GOAT argument. I think there's no question Tim Duncan has a GOAT argument. You can maybe even go as far as Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's only a handful. Maybe
You can stretch to Kobe as well.
Yeah, Kobe can give a GOAT argument. Shaq can get a GOAT argument. I think there's only 10, maybe 15 players. I don't want to start naming them at risk of forgetting any of them.
Well, don't forget about Wembanyama.
Vic is going to have his GOAT argument. That is for sure. The way his career started, but we can't necessarily put him in that conversation.
We can't crown him already? Damn.
No. He has that potential. That is very clear. But somebody like Giannis Antetokounmpo is not in the GOAT argument. There were people who were saying after he won one championship that he had a chance to be better than Tim Duncan. And it's like, easy now. To one championship is nowhere near 5. I think this is where we start to nitpick. And as Spurs fans, we're obviously a little biased, but just because we're biased doesn't mean it ain't true. Tim Duncan is the best franchise player of all time. He might not be able to compete with the individual numbers that a lot of these guys put up, but when you look at Michael Jordan, he didn't win a championship. I don't even think he made the playoffs until he got Scottie Pippen on the roster. there was the 3-year absence, or excuse me, there was just a year and a half absence where MJ decided he wanted to go and play baseball, and then he retired early. So Michael Jordan, while still capturing those back-to-back three-peats, or 2 three-peats with that gap in there where the Rockets went back-to-back, I think there's a strong case you can say that he could maybe edge out Tim Duncan as the greatest franchise player of all time. But just off the top of my head, Tim Duncan won 50 games or had that kind of winning percentage in the lockout year every year of his career. And Tim Duncan won 5 championships, 6 finals appearances, took less money late in his career, something that I don't know if anybody would really do anymore these days. He sacrificed his role to improve those around him, and he's just one of the greatest winners of the sport's history. So Tim Duncan, in my opinion, is the best franchise player of all time. That's really something that gives him a GOAT argument.
All good points, but it's all subjective. I mean, a lot of people could argue that Bill Russell's the best franchise player of all time.
Yeah, Bill Russell has a GOAT argument. Wilt Chamberlain has a GOAT argument. There are... I'm not going to give Elgin Baylor or Jerry West that level of respect, but they do earn a lot of respect from me. They're not quite GOAT argument. Bill Walton could have had that kind of argument if he didn't have his injuries. Dr. J maybe could have had that argument. Moses Malone maybe could have had those arguments if they were in the NBA the entire time, and probably not even then. There's a fine line between all-time greats, where I can start naming all the players that you've probably heard of throughout the course of NBA history, and then there's the GOAT argument players. LeBron has a GOAT argument. MJ has a GOAT argument. Let's not take it farther than that. We can appreciate that they are potentially the greatest player of all time. We will never actually get to the greatest player of all time.
You're going to have to break it down by eras. That's the only way you could claim. There's more than one GOAT out there.
And there's just so many ways that you can have this argument, because what happens if you drop Wilt Chamberlain in the year 2026 and he gets to learn how to play in actual athletic shoes and not just Converse All-Stars, and they get to play in AC arenas and those kinds of things. It might be a different story.
He gets to go to the free throw line every single time he attempts to go to the basket.
Yeah, pretty much would have to just be fouled a whole lot. Like Wilt would probably be putting up Shaq kind of numbers, but obviously Wilt put up even crazier numbers, but that predates the jump shot being popularized. So there's issues within the eras that you bring up a point of. I bring up a counterpoint that they didn't have the nice sort of, amenities, luxuries.
Salaries,
all the above. Yeah, in fact, J.J. Redick called the players in Wilt and Bill Russell's time plumbers. It's like, yeah, some of them probably were plumbers on the side. I think it was only the 80s where I was watching an NBA draft one time, and there was a guy who was drafted in the first round in the 80s, and they said he plans to be a car salesman during the offseason. It's like, what?
I mean, I'm sure it was a thing.
Yeah, they had to have second jobs. They were not, unless you were the
NBA was not that popular back then.
There was not the same kind of money that there is these days. You had to be the top of the top to not have to worry about money for the rest of your life. And another story I want to touch on, which I thought was interesting, is that Steve Kerr met with Warriors brass and talked about his future. It seems to me one of the ongoing conversations about the Warriors was, is Steve Kerr going to move on as head coach? There was that embrace with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr in their play-in game where they were eliminated, and they thought maybe this is the end of it. But apparently, both sides described the meeting as productive. There remains no resolution nearly 2 weeks after the Warriors season ended to Phoenix, but Kerr, Joe Lacob, and Mike Dunleavy plan to reconvene next week to continue discussions, according to league sources, according to ESPN. Steve Kerr will take a previously planned golf trip to close out this week, as those around him continue to describe Kerr as torn about his own side of the choice. And that's very interesting, because Steve Kerr's only had that the head coaching job with the Warriors. He was on TV for a little bit. I think he bounced around some front offices. No matter what happens, I hope Steve Kerr does what's best for him. Honestly, Steve, run for governor of California. That would be great. I think that should be his next move in life. I would vote for him. Steve Kerr, one of the all-time great people. I enjoy what he has to say about a lot of things, and I think he would be a popular politician if he ever decided to move away from being a head coach in the NBA. Good luck to him no matter what he decides to do next. On that note, I would have voted, and I almost did write in Greg Popovich for president, as some of these guys, they do have some interesting takes on politics. I hope I didn't lose any listeners there. I might have did. Oh, well, that's how it goes. All right. Starting lineup rolls on here on Ticket 760.
Silver and black, and no excuses. Start your day with a starting lineup.
Starting lineup on Ticket 760, halfway through hour 2 this morning. Happy you joined us. I'm your host, Karl Schoening, known as DJ LG in another lifetime and on social media. He's the guy who makes us sound good, but it's not. It's another lifetime. It's not something you're completely disconnected from.
No.
DJ LG.
Once upon a time.
Yeah. You know ball. You know game. You know music to a certain extent. I'm sure there's some of the newer stuff that none of us really know.
I know like hip hop and R&B up to like 2015 and 16, the day I retired. Once I retired from DJing, I kind of just tuned out popular music.
A lot of people are of the thought process that the best music has been made not so recently, and recently music has been kind of lame. And so Romeo Santos, is that who's going to be at the Frost Bank Center on Saturday?
That will be on Saturday at Frost Bank. Yes, you're correct.
He ensures that we're not going to have a Spurs game on Saturday. I do want to talk a little bit of music because I need your help. If you are on the Radio Sphere, the iHeart app, watching us on YouTube, this is evergreen. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at OnAirKarl. That is Carl with a K. On Air Carl.
You do need some help with your music selection because I've been in your car before and
I have terrible taste.
Your playlist needs a little work. That's for sure.
Terrible taste in music. I am very heavy in EDM, and I'm pretty sure when people who are not EDM heads get into my car, they want to switch it over.
You were playing dubstep last time I was in your car.
It gets me going.
All right.
As I have mentioned several times on this show, I am a caffeine addict. So I need music to match my heartbeat. And
I feel, it does match your personality. That's for sure.
Yeah, EDM is all I really kind of listen to at this point. Part of it is, and this will go into the music requests, I grew up playing basketball. I was around the hip hop culture in that sense, so I really did like a lot of those hip hop rap artists. I've started to not like them so much. You know, some of the content it gets overdone in its own ways. I'm sure you can use your imagination without me going into detail. That will be an FCC violation, but I'm not putting any of it down. I still listen to Drake. I like a lot of Kendrick Lamar, and I don't really want to pick sides in that battle.
All right. See, you're a different era of hip hop than me. See, I don't like Drake. I do like some Kendrick, but I don't like the sound of his voice. It's annoying to me.
It's different. Yeah.
He can rap really well. He can rhyme really well, but it's just the tonality of his voice. It's kind of like, like scratching a chalkboard to me. And that's the same with Eminem. I love the way Eminem freestyles. I love the way he writes. His raps are awesome, but the sound of his voice just annoys me. He's got like a Porky Pig tone. It's like, a beat a Slim Shady. It's just like, nah, man. Can't do it.
There's a lot of rappers that I can only take in doses. Future is one of them. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about when I say Future. Yeah, Future, I like a lot of his songs. I don't know if I could actually sit down and listen to a whole album. I sort of really caught on to the whole Houston rap scene. There was a point in time, and we got to get our guy Question eventually in here to talk about this, where the Houston rap scene dominated the hip hop music scene around the 2000s into the early 2010s.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
It very much was the big scene. You had a lot of guys out of Port Arthur, UGK, Mike Jones, Chameleonaire.
R.I.P. Pimp C.
Yeah. DJ Screw. Lil Wayne, actually, even though he's from New Orleans, really blew up in Houston. He went to the University of Houston and started to hang around in those circles of the Houston rap scene.
I believe our boy Question has a song with the Lil Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I listened to it and I appreciated it. It was different. I need to give him not that he needs feedback on it, well, whatever my thoughts on it, because it was, I was thinking it would be a bit more pop bottles at the club fun, and it was kind of darker, but I appreciate, as I'm older, the more meaningful songs as well. However, as I sort of mentioned, I'm a sucker for a good beat and vibe. So electric guitars, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix. Like I said, I'm all over the place. I'm not necessarily sure I have terrible taste in music. I just kind of haven't decided what my favorite is. I listen to Hendrix a lot too.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like California reggae these days. I'm not even listening to hip hop anymore right now. I mean, I listen to my old school stuff, but I'm mostly it's reggae in my car for the most part.
I need to get some reggae vibes. I like reggae. However, I don't know, again, if I can listen to like a whole album. I need the good songs that I like that can be peppered in with everything else. So that's interesting. I like the high energy, unique sounds. If you can give me some unique sounds, I'm all about that. I'll have to play you a reggae song that I heard the other day, and I really enjoyed it, and it just randomly popped up on NBA highlight that I had to Shazam it, and it has a nice sound. But when I looked it up, well, I guess YouTube Music, not many people have YouTube Music, but it didn't have that much interaction on YouTube Music. So I kind of wonder. I am a YouTube Music person because then you can pull songs that were on YouTube, and that was sort of the original streaming platform. So there's a lot of songs that you can't find anywhere else that are on YouTube.
The original streaming platform was LimeWire.
That was not a streaming platform. That was a virus downloaded onto your computer.
Well, that's
platform.
How I got most of my music back in the day.
Yeah. No, I didn't mess with that. And if you did, you probably killed your family's computer.
Yeah, we probably got sued by Metallica too.
That probably. Was that a thing? I never listened to the fallout of the LimeWire days.
Lars Ulrich was went to court to try to sue LimeWire and to sue Kazaa and all these, torrent downloading programs.
No, I had no idea at that time in the wild west of music and the internet that kind of illegal activity was going on. And I don't think I would have realized it was illegal because the way people were talking about LimeWire, it's like, oh yeah, it's just open, buy it.
It was kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Before that, I would go to the library and check out CDs, and then I'd take the CDs home and burn them and make copies of them. Then I'd have a whole collection.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I think has been an issue, quote unquote, in music since you could do that with cassettes. I'm sure it was much harder with cassettes. I
used to record 102.7 KTFM with a cassette player. I'd record the entire mix, and I'd have myself a nice mixtape there.
cassettes in cars predate me. I think I've seen a few. I might have owned one once before, but could you record the radio in your car with a cassette?
Not in your car. But
You'd have
you
to
could
do it on
at
like
home.
a two
could do it
channel
at
radio.
home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you could do it at home.
Yeah, I remember those days of seeing a cassette player. We need to maybe
I
make.
have one in my closet. Man, you're aging me right
I'm
now.
sorry. Yeah. No, we gotta figure out a bit where we find a Gen Z person and see how they react to things like cassette players.
Do you know how to dial a phone number on a rotary phone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, that's another thing you do with probably not Gen Z, but like Gen Alpha. It's like, hey, how would you hold a phone up to your face? And obviously, we would do it with the hang 10 sign, the thumb to our ear and the pinky to our mouth. Now they just kind of put their entire palm on their face.
No,
they don't
even
the
do
signal.
that. They just put it on speakerphone so everyone can hear the conversation.
Yeah, I don't even think people use phones at this point in time for phone calls. They use it for everything else.
It was such a better time when we had phone booths and everybody wanted their conversations private. They would get in a tiny booth so you couldn't hear them.
You were excited to see a camera. Someone's like, oh, you have a camera? Nobody says, I wish I had a camera anymore.
No.
That used to be a common phrase, and now everyone always has a camera. They can capture any moment they want. I know that wasn't sports. We got to figure out a way to tie it into it, but I enjoy talking something not sports sometimes. We'll get back to sports when we come back on the starting lineup. Well, I want to check out some of the action happening in the NBA playoffs to wrap up our show, as the Eastern Conference is still entertaining with some of the action happening there, and we'll just do a rapid fire of what's left in the West, as the Spurs and the Thunder have already punched their ticket into the second round. They have to wait out and see what happens between the Rockets and the Rockets and the Lakers, and the Spurs have to see what happens between the T-Wolves and the Nuggets. We'll talk about that and the Eastern Conference when we come back on the starting lineup right here on Ticket 760.
Your morning takes. Back to the starting lineup.
Starting lineup wraps up hour number 2, wrapping up the show, final segment. I am your host, Karl Schoening, and if this is your first time tuning in, this is a new show. We are almost done with our first week. The starting lineup here on Ticket 760 on YouTube and on pretty much any platform that you can get your podcast, including the iHeart app. I highly recommend the iHeart app. We sound a lot better on it. You can connect it to your Bluetooth, play it through your phone speakers while you're walking around, put it into your headphones, all the ways that you want to listen to crystal clear audio as made by our technician, LG.
Yo,
LG.
Listen to us on your metas, on your cameras that you now wear on your face.
Yeah, that's a purchase I'm holding off on getting because I want them to evolve. However, I did go in on a pair with a buddy of mine, and he's so much better at it than I am because I'm I'm not great at posting stuff, and I think I could be better at it, but he does a great job. My buddy Justin Simmons, you've met him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's also a sports broadcaster, so he's out doing boxing events, so you kind of get his POV as a ring announcer. I thought that was really cool, and he also does some play-by-play in the Austin area for St. Ed's. So you'll see him do some stuff. He did some rugby the other day. It was cool to watch him through his own eyes do these games. So I'm very proud of him, and I'm probably going to figure out a way to let him keep those, and I'll just wait for sort of the ones that match with my iPhone a little bit better.
Oh, you're waiting for the Apple glasses, huh?
I think it's coming out in September.
Well, the announcement, the rumors of an announcement in September and a launch in early 2027 or Christmas.
Yeah,
26.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they could make the holiday season, and that's probably the ideal goal for whenever you're coming out with a product, is something that could be given as a holiday gift. You know what gives a gift that keeps on giving?
The Jelly of the Month Club?
What is that?
It's a reference from a Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Oh.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. The Jelly of the Month Club. Every month you get a new flavor of jelly.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. I love the Chevy Chase movies. What was it? They always had a vacation movie.
That's Christmas Vacation, yes.
Yeah, but there are several vacation movies.
Oh, yeah. There's many.
It's been many, many moons, many years since I have seen a vacation movie.
Love them all.
Yeah. I think it's been a decade. Because I have not been a channel surfer in a while.
Yeah, European Vacation is probably my absolute favorite one.
I need to go back and watch that. I'm going to like that a lot more as an adult than I probably didn't get any of the jokes as a kid. I just sort of understood they were trying to be funny and laughed. So I need to go back and watch that. But the gift that keeps on giving is the NBA playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Last night we had a great game between Detroit and Orlando. Paolo Banchero and Cade Cunningham both dropped 45 points, but the Pistons came away with the victory in Game 5 to stave off elimination. So Game 6 will be in Orlando tomorrow night. That'll be on Prime. So good luck if you don't have Amazon Prime and want to watch that game. And should there be a Game 7, it'll be Sunday. And I get the feeling there's going to be a Game 7. Detroit might not be able to pull out that series, but Orlando has really been much improved in the postseason. It looks like they probably shouldn't even be a playoff team. They come out strong in the play-in tournament, and they go up 3-1, a chance to close out tomorrow night in Orlando. Boston and Philadelphia, that game is tonight on NBC/Peacock at 7 o'clock. Game 6, Philadelphia has had Joel Embiid for 2 games as he recovers from an appendectomy. He's been great. They split those first 2 games, and the 76ers win Game 5 in Boston 113-97. I want to say my hot take remains, and I've slept on it, LG. Philadelphia comes back and beats Boston. That's just that's me being a 76er homer. I cheer for them 80 times a year. The only times I don't cheer for Philadelphia is when they play in the Spurs.
That's you being a Philly homer, not just 76ers, a Philadelphia homer.
Don't even get me started on the Flyers beating the Penguins. I didn't watch much of that series.
You did a whole segment on Gritty the other day.
I love the Gritty. Gritty he knocked down a door with a corpse of a Penguin mascot.
Oh, man.
He put that on social media after they eliminated them. And Sidney Crosby, the only hockey player I can actually name other than Connor McDavid, a.k.a. Connor McJesus. Sidney Crosby hopes that the Penguins keep their core together because apparently when you lose in the first round like that, and I suppose they haven't had much success. I haven't kept up with hockey. I just saw that headline that he keeps that core together. Knicks in Atlanta. New York should close this one out tonight. It's in Atlanta. Hawks playing for their lives. The Knicks probably should have won this in 5 if you asked me, but the Hawks just proved to be a team that knows how to win games. I do want to see New York come away with a victory in that 3-6 matchup. That should be a good matchup between Boston and New York. Should that be the second round matchup, though? New York and Philadelphia, that's also a fun rivalry. And I think it's funny. Philadelphia hates the city of Philadelphia, hates the city of New York, and the city of New York doesn't care. New York is so much more fun than Philadelphia. As someone whose family's from Philadelphia, let me tell you, New York, better place to be. Philadelphia, kind of weird. Anyhow.
Never been, but I would love to go.
Yeah, just to see all the It's Always Sunny things.
I want to go to the link. I need to go to the link.
I have not been to an Eagles game in Philadelphia. When football season starts, we might lose a lot of the Cowboys fans, but I certainly am an Eagles fan. And I'll be fair to the Cowboys, but Jerry Jones, talk about the gift that keeps on giving. Jerry Jones. When we get into NFL season, Jerry Jones is going to have his own segment. Cavaliers and Toronto last night. Cavaliers go up 3-2 in that series in the pivotal Game 5. It felt like what the playoffs should feel like. The crowd in Cleveland was phenomenal. Cleveland comes up with a 5-point victory. Brandon Ingram leaves the game in the first half with a heel injury. Raptors lose by 5. Cleveland has a chance to close out the series in Toronto, in Canada, tomorrow night, another prime game. Checking out the Western Conference, all of y'all know already, Oklahoma City swept the Phoenix Suns in 4 games. The Spurs defeat the Blazers in a gentleman's sweep, 4-1. Man, was that Tuesday? Yeah, all these days start to blend together at a certain point. Big game tonight, Denver and Minnesota. Minnesota can punch their ticket into the second round for a second-round date with the Spurs. That one tips off at 8:30 on ESPN. Must watch if you are a Spurs fan. And should there be a Game 7, it'll be Saturday in Denver. And smart money seems to be on that happening, a Game 7 in Denver. Because Minnesota, once again, is out without Anthony Edwards. But the big game last night happened in Los Angeles. Game 5, the Lakers had a chance to close out the Rockets. The Rockets, without Kevin Durant, come away with a 99-93 win. Big night for Jabari Smith as he dropped 22 points. The Lakers got a good night from LeBron, didn't get much help the rest of the way from everybody else. Austin Reeves also had a good game, didn't shoot from the field well, but got to the free throw line pretty good. They forced the Rockets to a Game 6 in Houston. That'll be on Friday as well. You can see that one on Prime Video. It goes by kind of fast, doesn't it, LG? As a Spurs fan, I've sort of missed the playoffs. I watched them, but I didn't really, I guess, notice the length of time that was happening there. And the playoffs go by fast. The show goes by fast. And
the year's going by fast. It is going to be May tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Yeah. Pay your rent.
Yep.
Rent's due. It's the first of the month.
Summer's coming up.
Summer's already kind of hit Texas, but the rain has been
summer
nice.
Since February.
Yeah. The rain's been nice. It's cooled down Texas here, and, it's going to just heat up as the Spurs might find out their opponent. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the starting lineup, and, of course, we'll talk about all the other NBA action. I might even throw in some football, some baseball. We'll see. I'm hoping maybe Puma will join us. If you're a fan of Puma, tomorrow might be your show. Keep it tuned in here on Ticket 760, YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell notification to know when we go live. This is the starting lineup. Have a good rest of your Thursday, everybody.